Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 10 of Cute Little Love Letters, and this one is titled Movements. I guess we just have to wait and see if any more letters get put in your locker. Maybe this person's going to write a whole heap of little letters and then finally tell you who they are, Kiri said thoughtfully. Hey, that's really hot. I like that, Denki said with a smirk. This chick is something else. Is it a chick though? We don't know, Kiri said thoughtfully. Well, I'm usually all for the ladies, but hey, my mind can be changed if it needs to be, Denki said with an eyebrow wiggle. Kiri laughed. You're the worst, man. Come on, let's go. Bakugo's going to start yelling soon if we don't get a move on, he said with a chuckle. Oi, stupid hair, dunce, you coming? I'll leave you behind. They both heard the unforgiving threat from the aforementioned blonde, and Kiri sighed with a smile. There it is, let's go, he said, walking with Denki as they headed for the building doors where Bakugo was waiting. That night you sat down again with pen and paper and thought about the next thing you wanted to say to him. I don't really know how to express myself very well, you thought, after having written a few different things but disliking all of them. You sighed and tilted your head back, staring up at the ceiling. You hummed, wiggling your left wrist with the gemstone bracelet on it and hearing and feeling the weighted gems clink together. You closed your eyes and pulled up images of him as you dropped your head back down again, smiling to yourself and feeling your face start to heat up. Slowly you opened your eyes and started to write. You have no idea how much my heart races when I see you, you wrote down on the paper. You read it over a few times. It was the truth, and you wanted him to know that, so you ripped it off and stuck it in your pocket, ready for the delivery next day. The next day at school was a little strained. Again, you could hear whispers in the halls, and when you asked Kendo about it, she shook her head. I'm not really too sure, but I think the hero courses are going to be moved on site here. I don't know where, though. They're concerned about another villain attack, so they want to keep us safe, which is understandable, she said. I'm sure they'll tell us in due time. You nodded. Move into the school? You wondered. So does that mean I don't get to go home? Your face fell. But I like going home. I love Mum and Dad and our little treehouse, you thought sadly, your concern clouding your mind so much that you forgot the little letter to Denki and headed home with it still in your pocket at the end of the day. Denki was excited to leave the class at the end of that day and made a run for his locker, much to his classmate Ida's chagrin, the latter yelling at him to walk respectfully in the halls. This yelling did affect Denki, who slowed to a very fast walk, but he still wanted to get to his locker. Is it here? Is it here? He said out loud as he yanked his locker open and started searching for the next little love letter that he hoped was going to be there. Books, papers, a shoe, and a few other bits and pieces went flying everywhere as he dug to the back of his locker, but he couldn't find any cute little love letter. Damn, he said sadly as he bent down to pick up his mess. Hey bro, what happened? Kiri asked as he approached Denki, seeing all the books and papers and such spewed out all over the place. I was looking for my next little letter, but it wasn't here, he said sadly, turning slowly to reply to Kiri. Oh, I'm sorry dude, but hey, maybe it'll be there tomorrow. Maybe they decided to give you a break today, Kiri offered. Yeah, I don't know, but I'll wait for tomorrow then, Denki said, scooping up the last of the items on the floor and shoving them back into his locker. That's the spirit, Kiri said encouragingly. So manly. Denki got his things together quickly this time, and he and Kiri left to catch up with Bakugo, so as not to keep him waiting. You got home and pushed your door open, breathing in deeply as you entered and taking a second to really look around and take in your home. It had been weighing heavier and heavier on your mind that you might have to move out and into the school grounds, and you were starting to stress in advance. Is that you, my sweet? You heard your mum call out from the kitchen. Hi, Mum, you called back. Your mind is so absorbed that you couldn't get the words of greeting out past your worry, your mum said as you walked down the hall and entered the kitchen area. She could tell something was wrong, but when she turned and saw you, she gasped. My love, you need a cup of passiflora tea and a sit on the swing with me, she said, immediately stopping her dinner preparations to get some tea together for the two of you. You need to talk and tell me everything that's on your mind. Mum, I don't know what's going on, you said sadly. There's so much suddenly happening in my life, and I don't know how to handle it all. Your mum hummed knowingly and opened her arms for you to come in for a hug. Love and life are ever-changing, like the northern lights, she said. Sometimes the colours are strong and flowing, sometimes they're barely visible. It just depends on the season. she said knowingly. You kinda got it, but also didn't at the same time, but just having a hug from your mum while she stirred the flowers into the boiling water was enough to comfort you for now. As soon as the tea had brewed, your mum poured 2 mugs of the sweet, hot liquid, and you carried the mugs outside to the swing to sit and talk while you overlooked the forest beyond. Where do I start? You asked yourself out loud. I feel like I've been really putting myself out on a limb recently with trusting people and with trying to gain more courage to do things and step out of my comfort zone, but then now I've heard that we might be having to move on to the school grounds so the villains can't get us, and I feel like it's too much for me to handle. I need you and Dad. I need my room, my books, my bed, my house, my paintings, my little world. I'm scared. Your mum listened quietly as you spoke down into your cup of tea. She knew this was hard for you. This was indeed all very new for you, but she was excited that you were being faced with new challenges and experiences. This is exactly what she needs, she thought as she put her cup down and turned to engulf you in her warm arms. She stayed quiet to give you some time to say more if you wanted to, but you had internalized now and were letting your mind run wild with worry. You will never be tested beyond what you are able to handle, she said softly. Asking for more courage gives you more situations in which courage needs to be applied. The more courage you gain, the seemingly more difficult the situations will be until you have gained all the courage you need to become the pinnacle of you, she said. You thought about it for a second and then sighed. Can I just ask for peace and tranquility and a life in my room with all of my favourite things around me, like plants and books? You asked sullenly. Your mum chuckled softly. Let us revisit this in a few months, she said with a glint in her eye. I will ask you in a few months' time if you still wish to be kept in your room. You sighed and sat back. But will you help me if I don't know what to do? You asked, looking at her with begging in your eyes. I will always be here, your mum promised with a smile. And even when I'm gone, I will be in here and here, she added, pointing to your head and your heart. You sighed with a little relief and took a sip of the passiflora tea. Thanks, Mum, you said with a smile. Just then you heard footsteps and looked around to see your dad walking out to the swings with a cup of tea in hand. Sorry I'm late to the meeting, guys. I didn't get the memo, he said with a grin. Why are we out here drinking tea on the swings? Is there something special happening? We're drinking to courage, your mum said with a side glance at him. Oh, he said a little softly. Well, yes, we could all use more of that. Your mum eyed him with a knowing look, and he returned her look with a sheepish one, and then reached out to hug you. My little Faye has all the courage she needs. It's just buried in her shoes, he said with a smile. And there you have it, Chapter 10 done dusted. See you tomorrow for Chapter 11.